Welcome back to Renaissance Man Education. When I was a kid, I was I had a cross of a couple of things going. I made excellent grades and I wore glasses, so I fit in the nerd category. And I played sports. I also did some karate as a youngster. So I was a nerd who could play sports and fist fight. But because I was a square, straight laced kid, I didn't understand how mischievous kids operated. It took me some time to learn that. Now I have a brother. We have different mothers, and he would come to stay with me over the holidays and some weekends, and vice versa. He would try to teach me some of these things so I could be a little bit more street smart. I didn't always pick up on it. But my brother, he's from uh, another city in Louisiana where they actually did gangs. This is how great I was. It took me all the way until my maybe mid 20s or maybe early 30s to understand that he was a Crip. I had no idea. The signs were there. I didn't understand the slang, and then in Baton Rouge, we didn't really have gangs. So the signs were there, but I never really got exposed to the culture. And this is my big brother, and I'm a nerd, so he didn't want me getting in trouble, neither did my dad. So one thing he would tell me is, and we had a particular situation, and this is one day when I found out how vicious my brother could be, because he started gang banging at an early age. But when he's with me, he has to take part in square activities because how else is he gonna see his little brother? Because he loved me and he loved my dad dearly. And just as a side note, back in the day, parents were different. My mom treated him just like he was her child when he was there. So we would go to summer camp, and my brother was a good athlete, and I wasn't quite the athlete he was at the time. I was just still trying to find myself. He was about 13, I was 9 or 10. Um, and maybe he might have been 12, but either way, he was always nice to me, so I never saw this side of him. But I got tricked by some kids into getting some ammonia put up my nose, like one of those that little knockout thing when if you're unconscious, what the referees will put in your nose at a sporting event. That ammonia, the smell is so strong it'll literally wake your brain up. It'll startle you out of being unconscious. So some kids had some of these things and they were tricking people. Uh, Younger kids such as myself. These kids had to be 12 and 13, maybe 14 themselves. And they were like, "Hey, dude, hey, we're gonna show you something. Lay down real quick and close your eyes." So, I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Just do it, just do it, just do it." So, me being not popular, green, naive, I went and did it, and they put this crap in my nose, and it hurt. And I didn't even tell my brother. Somebody told my brother what happened, and he just went into this ferocious mode. And one of these kids was bigger than him, the other was his side, and he backed them both into a corner. He said, "Hey, man, what did you do to my brother?" And they explained what happened, and it's a game. And he said, "Hey, you don't play with him, because next time I'm going to hurt you. And I ain't going to ask no questions, and there ain't going to be no talking." So afterwards, he put his arm around me. He said, "Look, little brother, you don't go dealing with these people who they're not your friend one day and all of a sudden now they want something from you. And you don't go hanging out with nobody like that trying to be cool. You don't be around people like that. You don't need what they have to bring to you. You hang around people who are like you, or you hang around people who actually do like you. But you don't be going along with people's schemes and scams and tricks trying to fit in." And the thing about it, for you good kids out there, you're probably like me, and you don't always understand what's going on, or when these other types of kids, and this goes into adulthood too. Stay with me. You don't quite You're not socially experienced enough to understand when somebody's playing you or when somebody's using you, because they smile, they'll charm you, they seem like they have good intentions. Maybe you had issues with them in the past, and now they're being friendly. So you thinking, because you're a good person, you're thinking they're gonna act like you do and treat you well because that's what you think the world is like. And I hate to say it, there are some people like you in the world, but not that many. I would say the majority of people in the world just don't have the best intentions these days. I know when you take your little job surveys and they do those little tests, they say, do you think most people in the world are good? Hey, to get your job, yeah, you put that. But look, the reality of the situation is you got a lot of bad people out there. You got a lot of people that don't mean you well. And you need to watch what people do, not what they say. I'm going to repeat that. Watch what people do, not what they say. That being said, after I got a little bit older, I had to go through more situations like that because you learn over time who means well for you and who doesn't. But look, if you got a big brother or a father, you can email me, motivationequation@gmail.com. You can tell me a situation, I'll describe it for you. I'll tell you, or you describe it for me, I'll tell you what you're dealing with. What are your teachers, your coaches? You learn how people operate. Don't be charmed and disarmed by smiles and by nice gestures out of the blue. People need to be consistently, genuinely good to you for you to choose to bless somebody with your presence. Because to know you is a blessing. God made you special. He knew what he was doing when he made you. So understand and value yourself and value that particular notion. Now, once I got older, I was working at a furniture store, and one of my coworkers who had been to jail, there was a situation where some folks were making some jokes and stuff like that. And I noticed he was particularly cold, callous, and quiet during this particular situation. Now, this brother was, this is actually who led me to Yeshua the Christ. Yeshua means Jesus in Hebrew. Anyhow, I was still living a more worldly life, so I would, the jokes were kind of immature and not wholesome. But he made sure he didn't respond at all. So I'm like, hey, you okay? He's like, yeah, but when there's stuff you don't agree with, you don't agree with it. In prison, there's a term, because remember, he was locked up. He said, in prison, there's a term. It's called, you grin, you in. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, hey, man, when you start laughing and joking with people, in prison, they associate you with those people. So if you're going to laugh and joke with this gang, people are going to assume that you're in it. And whatever it is they do, people are going to assume that you're okay with it. Because you grin, you in. That can be with the church. That can be with whatever type of sexual orientation, whatever type of whatever cliques they have in prison. You get in their midst, you laugh around and play around and joke with them. At that point, that's what you are, and you can't shake that reputation. So I'm going to pass that on to you. You civilians, you square people who aren't in gangs and stuff like that, not in prison. Listen. Two things, and I'm going to add one to it. Silence is agreement. So if you get to grinning and laughing and joking about something, understand, if you're with some sharks or some wolves, not only are they going, outsiders going to assume that this is your group, they're going to start smelling blood in the water and think that you're food for some type of joke or scam or worse. Stop laughing and grinning with people who don't have your best interest in mind. Especially once you realize, okay, this is a trick and they're trying to make me feel uncomfortable. Don't sit there and take people's abuse. Get away from that situation. Go find your tribe. Go find people like you. Don't be ashamed of the people like you. If you're a nerd, go with the nerds. If you're an athlete, go with the other athletes and go with your teammates. And not your teammates who are going to use and abuse you, but your teammates who are like you, because there's going to be some other nerds who play basketball. There's going to be some other regular kids who play basketball and stuff like that, or football. If you're if you wear a certain type of clothes or you like the video games, go with your gamers, man. Don't try to fit in places you don't belong, because you're going to get used and abused. And I've taught this to my son, and he's just like me. I mean, everything I described about myself, he's that. And he called himself, I'm glad we caught it early, he called himself trying to, laugh and joke to fit in. And he caught himself in a situation where he was about to have to defend himself. Now, granted, he does know how to defend himself, but see, people like us, nice folks, really nice kids, yeah, we may know how to defend ourselves, but you have to push us. So now you got to go through all this crap until somebody finally pushes you to what they call it, Super Saiyan level or whatever. And now you come out and get the situation in order. But you didn't have to go through that, because you should have kept your mouth shut. You shouldn't have been grinning and laughing with these folks. You shouldn't have basically sent the body language and the social tones that pretty much say, yeah, I'm in. I'm okay with this. Because now you have to explain to your principal or to whoever why you were with this crowd and why you were acting like friends. And now you're complaining and fighting or whatever the case may be. So you watch who you surround yourself with, but don't give nonverbal cues or even verbal cues that you're okay with trifling behavior. It's going to backfire on you. And you know when you don't belong. Don't you go for these things where all of a sudden, hey man, won't you come hang with us? Nah, they know who you are and what you are. Why? Ask yourself. Always ask the magic questions. Who, what, when, why, and where. Who? Some jokers who don't even really like you. What? Now all of a sudden they want to be your friend. So then it's why. And then where? Where are they trying to get you to go? Where is this taking place? When is it supposed to happen, and why is it happening at this time? You ask yourself who, what, when, where, and why. You can solve most issues in life. Don't you get sucked in by these people who all of a sudden want to be your friend. By this girl who all of a sudden likes you, even though she wouldn't give you the time of day. Somebody all of a sudden wants to be helpful for no reason. And the older you get, the more serious that gets, because now, you have people who make these little clicks on jobs, and, people will try to ruin your opportunities and set you up. You're trying to get a promotion, but they want that same promotion, and they get you messed over because you decided that you want to start clicking up with people. Meanwhile, they're actually your competition. You need to learn how to understand people's motives. Judge people by what they do and what they do consistently, not by what they say. You grin, you in, and here's another thing. Silence is agreement. So if there's some foolishness going on around you and you don't speak up about it, or somebody's trying to abuse you and you don't stand up or get help, it's going to continue and it's going to get worse, and they're going to try to make you the aggressor and make them the victim. So you cut foolish behavior out at the beginning, because you don't want to be the person having to explain why you've been quiet and been okay with bad behavior, and now all of a sudden you're reacting. Now, at the end of the day, try not to overreact if you can avoid it, and you still got to end cycles of abuse and usury. So I'm not saying don't speak up if you've let something that shouldn't have gone on happen. Yeah, you still, if you're a student, you still inform your teachers or your coaches. You still get counseling if you need it. You still say, hey, look, this person's bothering me. I don't know what it's about to come to, but I need that person to stop bothering me. Or, yeah, I participated, but I want to get out of this behavior, and I don't want to do it anymore. I made the video about when I contacted Charleston White about a kid who wanted to get out of, well, he wasn't a kid, he was a grown man at that point, about a grown man who wanted to get out of a gang. He got out. The gangs aren't like they used to be, unless you're deep in one of the places where they started, like South Central or Chicago or whatever the case may be. But you can still get help and you can get out of it. You may have to move. You may have to relocate and reinvent yourself, but you can. I think I'm going a little bit too long with this video. If you need help, if these situations don't make sense to you, or you have a situation you're going through like that, or you've been through a situation like that, you can email me at motivationequation@gmail.com, or you can put something in the comment box to help out. And if you're a grown man listening, look, these kids read those comment boxes. I know some of y'all who are a little bit more seasoned, you may not comment on social media. Let me tell you, these kids do. They communicate that way. And stuff like this is golden to them. Because if you're from previous generations, you probably had a dad, an uncle, or somebody to share this stuff with you. These kids don't know these days, bruh. So I've seen a couple of you comment in some of these videos. Man, reiterate it. Because believe it or not, this online stuff is safe places for some of these kids. They may not speak up right away. It'll pick up eventually. But when you adults comment, those kids are watching. I promise you. Renaissance Man Education. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. Pass this video on. There's young people out there who need it. Have a good one.